Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to Jason Whitlock Harmony, where Shemeka Michelle and I are going to talk about the Diddy trial that got underway yesterday. Opening statements from both the prosecution and the defense, some testimony from two, I believe, male strippers slash escorts. It was pretty salacious, the openings of this trial. I think it's going to last 6 to 8 weeks. And so this is just the beginning of it, but we want to be a part of that conversation. And so, Shemeka Michelle, I know they're not allowing cameras into a federal courthouse, so this isn't going to be streamed or televised. This isn't the OJ trial, but it is a fascinating trial, and there was a lot of salacious details about Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, and she had a little bit of a singing career. She's kind of at the heart of these allegations, and there's a story about Diddy sitting in the corner in a bandana and sunglasses, pleasuring himself while watching her be screwed by strippers and escorts. And there's a story, and again, I'm just keeping it real about what's all coming out about one of these escorts being asked to urinate in her mouth, and just all of it just sounded crazy. I'm not sure if all of it sounded super criminal as much as it did like Diddy's a bad person, and that may be enough to convict him, that he's a bad person. That was my initial takeaway from the opening statements, what I read about them. I also watched a video with Myron Gaines, who is in New York and sat through the first day of the trial, and he gave a more detailed explanation of what he saw and heard. But anyway, what did you glean from day one of the trial? And then I have some takes off of that.
That Diddy is just nasty. Did he do it? It sounds like he did. And the defense is using exactly what you said, that maybe he's a bad person, maybe he has a lifestyle that most of us don't agree with, but it's not criminal. That's what the defense is trying to use. But when you listen to, or you look at Cassie, I believe she may be testifying. I saw the picture with the pregnant woman, and they're talking about what she's saying. She's saying sometimes these freak-offs lasted 3 to 4 days, and that Diddy controlled every part of her life, and that she was forced into these acts. She said she would come out of these 4-day long freak-offs dehydrated, exhausted, and had to recover. And that they started when she was 22 years old, and that she felt like she didn't have a choice in the matter because he controlled so much of her life, her career, and everything else. So I guess that's going to be the deciding factor, if she was actually forced into these things or if it was just a chosen lifestyle. I'm laughing because people are like, oh, his hair is completely gray, as if being in prison just these few months changed his hair. Like, people have to remember, Diddy is 55, I believe. He probably had some gray hair anyway, and was just dyeing it. He's almost like this child that never grows up, and his hair has probably already been gray, but I'm glad now that everyone has to see it. I would love to be in the courtroom to hear some of these things, because it's just amazing to believe that this was really happening to so many people. I've heard from, also there was someone that works with him, like maybe an assistant. She's saying that she was done this way. So it's going to be an interesting, 6 to 8 weeks, however long this trial lasts.
Here's my first and initial takeaway, is that this society that we've built, where entertainers, and particularly in the rap music world, but in the music industry in general, we shower millions upon millions of dollars on entertainers. And there's a level of power that comes along with showering that much money on entertainers. And if you're showering this money on entertainers who spent their childhood or early developmental years dreaming about, oh, I want to be rich and famous one day so I can have as much sex as possible, if their vision goes no further than that. And this is the issue with showering all this great wealth on athletes and entertainers. We're not showering it on scientists and inventors and doctors and people that like contribute, builders. We're showering it on people that entertain. And so now they spend all their time trying to entertain themselves, a lot of times sexually. And so none of this is surprising. And when you build a particular form of music that's based off of prison culture and prison values, what do you think they're going to do with all this money and power you've handed over to them? Do you think, oh, they're going to sit, well, let me build a hospital. Let me build something that serves the community. No, they're going to use their money to buy gold chains, to buy sex slaves, and to host lavish, drug-filled, drunken parties. And so this trial to me, and I know we're just a day into it, and now we're into day 2, but anybody that supports rappers of any kind, and I'm talking about the commercial rappers, I'm not talking about Christian or gospel, but these rappers, the Snoop Dogg's, the 50 Cent, any of them, Ice Cube, I like Ice Cube, but even any of them, I'm like, what do you think you're supporting? It's crystal clear what it is you're supporting: sexual degenerates, alphabet mafia people. It's like if all the drugs that they're ingesting just brings down inhibitions, and all they can think about is sexually pleasuring themselves. And that's how you get into a no holes barred situation where people are entering you from any orifice that they want to because you're so drunk high and you're just chasing a sexual high. But this whole thing just early on is just like, I'm so glad I've moved away from rap music. I'm so glad that I was critical of rap music, even when I was listening to it. At least my instincts and ears were tuned properly, like, hey, this can lead to no good. But that's what I'm hoping is on the other side. If whether Diddy gets convicted or not, I don't think is going to change much. But if people's eyes are open to the reality of commercial rap music and who these people are, and I know 50 Cent loves to make fun of Diddy, but I'm not saying 50 Cent is like Diddy, but he's closer to Diddy than I am, and any of you are. And he may not have been, again, 50 Cent running around with Chelsea Handler, a demon and a sexual degenerate. This to me should just unmask rap music for what it is: a gay, sexually degenerate psyop.
Thank you, Jason, for reminding me that I'm so disappointed in 50 Cent running around with Chelsea Handler. I just feel like she's been so used and worn that her lady parts looks like a chewed piece of gum. And I can't imagine that he found that remotely attractive. Jason, I think about the fact that when we go into our purpose, how God really covers us and shields us. It's been over 20-something years, but I remember sending in a demo tape to Bad Boy because Puffy had put something out that he was looking for artists and to send in your demo tape and your picture. And I did all of that. And I remember me and my friends thinking, you got what it takes. You have the looks, you have a voice. You're creative. You should be chosen. And obviously, I guess it ended up in the trash, but thank God, because I never would have made it in that type of lifestyle. To hear someone say that, or to see the transcripts that someone would say somebody was hired to urinate in their mouths, that goes even further than the R. Kelly whole golden shower thing. And now my mind is racing like, well, what did they call that? Was it Lemonade? And now Beyonce had a whole album called Lemonade. I thought it was one thing, but what did it really mean? These people are sick, Jason. And I just can't even imagine going on a binge like that for 3 or 4 days where people are being hired to sleep with you, pee on you, pee in your mouth, you're drugged. My daughters are the age that Cassie was when she started this. I would be livid. And you have to ask yourself, what are parents actually instilling in their children that they get caught up in this type of lifestyle so early? Are we pushing materialism so much that these kids are going out here feeling like, well, I'll get the Birkin bags, I'll get the shoes that I want, I'll have this lifestyle that of the rich and famous without actually doing any type of real work or having any type of real talent? It's scary that they're getting into this at such young ages where they should still really be close to their parents, and their parents should actually be leading them and aware of what's going on. It's a scary thought.
It is scary, but it's not surprising. Rappers are celebrated. They're put on mainstream media platforms and treated as important voices and leaders and voices that speak for the Black community. This is everywhere. Hey, let's bring them on sports talk shows to talk about sports. Let's bring them. They're important. They have an audience. Again, it used to crack me up because I always called BS. They're the CNN of the hood. And no, they're not. And they're just talking about what's going on. No, these are unfathered kids, for the most part, who have ghetto dreams and ghetto fantasies and sexual fantasies. We give them the money and the power, and then we treat them as, hey, and again, this is what, generally speaking, doesn't happen to the average rock star or country music star. They're not seen as a voice for the community. They may make songs that speak to their community, but again, people aren't bringing Jason Aldean on to, hey, tell us what white folks are thinking of what white folks should do. But we're bringing Jay-Z on, who wears one of these crazy feminized hairstyles, looks like he's drunk or high most of the time. He's ran around with Diddy everywhere. And somehow the NFL, we need to partner with him. He's the leader. He needs to help us establish a culture. He's someone Black people all should respect. And his advice about how he transitioned from a drug dealer to a billionaire, this is an important story that all kids need to learn from. This is insanity that we have been forcing and putting on a pedestal for young people. And anybody that wants to deny the wickedness, the evilness, the debauchery, the depravity, the nihilism of this music and the people that they're putting up as, hey, take these people seriously. These are your leaders. These are criminals, unrepentant criminals, and they're degenerates, and they do degenerate things, and they abuse women, they abuse themselves, they abuse they've normalized a behavior that's demonic. And I'm following the early parts of this trial and what comes out of it, and it just reconfirms in my mind, these people need to be called demons. That's what they are. And we need to, as we were talking about earlier on the main channel, we need to shame these people. People that make music promoting that kind of radical materialism, that kind of sexual degeneracy, there needs to be some shame instead of celebration of them. That's all we get. Somehow they're important. Protecting Drake, even protecting Kendrick Lamar. None of this is a little gay midget that raps about somebody being a pedophile. Miss me with all of it.
I'm glad you brought the NFL into that, Jason. I was watching an episode of The Game. It's a series that was out some years ago, and it kind of portrayed a football team. And one of the statements the so-called quarterback said was, this is a way to live the lifestyle of a drug dealer without selling drugs. And it just made me think about how a lot of that portrays the drug dealer lifestyle. You have those who have gone to the NBA and the NFL, and that's what they want to look like, drug dealers with the big chains and all the diamonds, the diamond teeth. They want to look like drug dealers, and this is the image that we have began to glorify in the Black community. You think about these movies, we glorify Nino Brown. We have American Gangster, New Jack City was the name. This is what we kind of glorify, that you should be a drug dealer. And so if you're not a drug dealer, you still have to look like one. So rappers want to look like drug dealers. NBA players want to look like drug dealers. NFL players want to look like drug dealers. And I'm just wondering why this is what we've pushed out there as the epitome of Blackness or Black men, that you have to actually present yourself as someone who looks like you sell drugs, even if you don't.
Diddy, and let's take Snoop Dogg, they want to be pimps, even more than drug dealers. And they present themselves as pimps. The most character, cartoonish, wild dressing, gold chain wearing, platform shoes wearing pimps. And this is what that game inevitably looks like. And once you go down that path, you end up where Diddy's at, over in a corner, pleasuring yourself as some girl you're calling your girlfriend is getting pleasured by somebody else and peed on. This is where it ends up. And I say this in just as I've seen it firsthand. I know how you can get out in that sexual ocean, and the next thing you know, you're like, wow, how did I get out here? And you move too far, and I'm just telling you, next thing you know, somebody's somebody's rear-ending you because you're way too far out in that ocean. And I'm glad this trial is happening. I wish it were televised and more people could see it. Because I do think this level of exposure of what hip-hop music, this guy was at the top of the industry, at the very top of the industry. And this went on for 20 plus years. And maybe, again, he's been involved with violent behavior. People claim that people have been unalived thanks to Diddy. We've given money and power and influence to degenerate criminals. And then we're told that there are leaders and they're the role models for young people. And then we look up and wonder why there's so much Black fatigue and why we had having these conversations this week. It's not a surprise. This has been planned and executed for a long time. I'm glad it's being exposed in this Diddy trial. We're going to stay on top of this story. Shemeka, thank you. We'll play some Harmony. And we'll see you next time.
How did we end up so divided? Stop fighting and stand tall. We used to be a nation, one united. Now we're headed for